Welcome to Shelterhouse Shares on MCTV, our online and on TV version of our monthly newsletter. And we are very proud to tell you that when I said online, you can go to the MCTV website and watch us anytime. So if you can't catch us during the broadcast, you can certainly do that. We're really pleased to be able to offer that as well. I have with me today three very lovely ladies, and I love to call them my co-workers, and they do a great job in Gladwin County. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the services in Gladwin County. But first, I'd like to have them each introduce themselves to you. Mo?
My name is Maureen Barney McGuire, and I am a court liaison up in Gladwin County and help with other various client advocacy roles.
Okay.
I am Savannah Cook, and I am the housing advocate in Gladwin County and in Midland County also.
And I'm Shannon Tigner, and I'm a client advocate and therapist in Gladwin County.
Well, welcome to Midland County. I know you come down here frequently. We have meetings, and you're very familiar with Midland as well as Gladwin, but your heart and soul in your work is in Gladwin County. And why are we having a show about Gladwin County on Midland Community Television? It's because we're one organization, and we do go back and forth so much in our services. We wanted to share with all of our communities and online what we do and how we extend our reach through both counties. So let's start having you talk with me about what are the services that are offered in Gladwin. We've talked to our audience frequently over the past year about what is going on in Midland County, but what services are offered in Gladwin County?
Well, for starters, our staff, we have a multitude of staff that rotates up through Gladwin. We have a children's therapist. Shannon is a psychologist. All three of us are client advocates. We have wonderful interns and volunteers. Savannah's specialty is housing, which is greatly needed, that skill. And my specialty is being a court liaison. So all of those services are available. All that staff is available to Gladwin County.
Okay, I know that sometimes people have an outreach office, and it might be 1 day a week or 2 days a week. How many days a week, and what are the hours, and what's availability?
Well, we're Monday through Friday because we are not a shelter, even though the name is Shelterhouse. In Midland, is where our shelter is located. But we do have offices there, so I'm a full-time advocate there, so Monday through Friday. Maureen is part-time. Savannah is there 2 days a week. And then we have the child psychologist who comes in 1 day a week, and we have interns that fill in any holes that we may have.
So 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the shelter. So there is not a shelter in Gladwin County. Can you explain how does that work? Because people come to Midland when they're in need of the shelter, of safety, to get away from their situation in order to be safe. So how do you work with that? How does that happen?
Generally, I do a lot with that because we have people who work in Gladwin County, and if they're in our shelter, they are staying in Midland County. And so we're able to help them set up the county connection buses to meet in Edenville and be able to still make it to their work. There's also a grant through the state of Michigan called the McKinney-Vento grant that helps to keep the children in their school of origin so that they can continue going to school until they resettle, and then they'll only have to transfer schools maybe once instead of several times.
McKinney-Vento Act is very much a blessing, because then the children are able to stay in their own school. And like you said, we can make arrangements so that they can actually, the parents don't have to drive them. And the law, it's the McKinney-Vento law, actually says that it's the school's responsibility to provide that transportation. So it's wonderful that we're able to make those arrangements. The kids can stay in school, and family life can continue. For the children, the schooling part can continue as it's needed. So it's wonderful, another way that we work together between the two counties.
The other thing that most people don't realize, I think, is that probably 80% of our work in Gladwin particularly is education and support, walking through the court system with folks. Shelter isn't always the primary and only need, but we work really well together with our Midland staff. If we need shelter, if we need to get someone out who's in danger, we can see if there's an opening in our shelter in Midland. if there's not at that time, or if it's just completely difficult for someone to go there, kids in school in Gladwin, job in Gladwin, we can utilize local motels for a night or two to get someone safe until we can figure out a different plan.
Yeah, there's lots of ways. Shelterhouse can be there for someone who needs the service.
Yes.
And so someone calls and says, I really am not feeling safe. I'm having so many things going on in my life. I'm confused. And they call in and make that call, and you call the Midland Shelter, and Midland Shelter's full. Do you just say, well, sorry, I can't help you? What happens?
No, what we are able to do is, one of the first things with people who are fearful is that we work out a safety plan with them. And of course, part of that safety plan is where can we put you that's safe until we can come up with a better plan or figure out a way to get you transportation, etc. So again, we have several motels in Gladwin that have been very generous with us and will let us shelter someone for a night or two until we can make other arrangements or get them into the Midland Shelter.
So it's all about relationships.
It's all about relationships.
I know, because one of the first things when I became the executive director that you asked me was, will you please consider going through Leadership Gladwin? And I did that, and it was such a great experience to learn the uniqueness of Gladwin County versus Midland County. And I think that there are some differences. So there must be more similarities and differences between the two counties. Can you talk a little bit about that, and what are some of those differences and maybe how you work differently?
Well, I think Gladwin County is very rural, and so where Midland you have city and rural needs. Gladwin we have very rural needs. It's an hour sometimes to the nearest major town. So we work with a lot of other organizations that are nonprofits. We work with the police department, we work with the court system. We have a very good relationship with both of those, and that's something we're very proud of. So we can always lean on other organizations when things are necessary, and they do the same with us. So we have a lot of communication with other departments, other businesses. Even local businesses in town are very supportive of us too. So it's that, I think, being a small town, everyone knows everyone, and it's all about respect and relationship, and so we nurture that very much.
I know that when we had our annual meeting last fall that you invited your assistant prosecutor down to talk with people, and some of the stories and some of the things he told were so moving, and it showed the relationship and the trust that you built with that office and with your community. And it's very not only commendable and honorable and all those things, but it is so necessary in order to better serve all the clients that you serve. You do a great job.
It's one of the things I'm proudest of in working in Gladwin. Everybody knows everybody, first name basis. I mean, we laugh about the fact that, you know, we have the sheriff and the prosecutor's cell phone numbers plugged right in, and they also know that night or day they can call us and say, we have a situation we really think you could help with. And that's the way we roll in Gladwin. It's how it works. And so though there are perhaps less resources or less financial opportunities for assisting clients, that collaboration, we've learned, has made all the difference for client service. I mean, when I can call the prosecutor or his assistant and say, hey, can I bring a client over to come talk to you? They need more answers. It's absolutely yes. And our relationship with law enforcement is fantastic. Our chief of police, Dwayne Bean, sits on our board.
Yes,
he thinks
yes.
very highly of Shelterhouse. And it's those relationships that really make us different and make it work in Gladwin.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you said is day or night. So on call for 24-hour services in case of emergency. You have office hours, but so how does on call work differently than Midland? Because in Midland we have somebody at the house 24 hours a day, and we have on call and have all of that. So how, if somebody has an emergency on Saturday night in Gladwin, what happens?
We have the 24-hour hotline for both counties, and so they will call Midland County, but then we always have someone on call in Gladwin County. We take 1 week each and rotate weekly So out of every 3 weeks, we're on call for one.
So if someone has to go to the hospital, you're willing to go there in
Yes.
Gladwin, to the Gladwin Hospital, and meet them there?
Yep, absolutely.
Fantastic. So considering all the challenges we've talked about with a rural county and serving those victims, and because of the isolation, because of so many things, how do you go about helping clients?
Well, we do a lot of, as far as helping clients, we do a lot of advocacy because we don't have the shelter aspect. So we do anything from typical day. We could meet with a client weekly for an hour. Usually they're about an hour session to work through anxiety that they may be having over a past relationship or future development, or we meet with them for court reasons, to prepare them for court, to help them process what went through court. We meet with them for housing assignments. That can be a weekly process as well. We do transport a lot of times. I had a day where I was transporting a therapy cat for a client to the vet because they did not have transportation, and then taking another client to affordable housing to fill out their application for housing, to dropping off personal hygiene products at someone's home because they didn't have transportation to get in and couldn't afford any.
Sure.
So we do a wide variety of things. You just never know, which is part of the fun of the job because you just never know what's going to walk in the
Never
door.
ever going to be routine. Savannah, can you talk about the supportive housing units? I know you do that both for Midland and Gladwin, but you do, I think, more of that in Gladwin, going out into the homes. First of all, what is our supportive housing program? What is that? And then explain not only what it is, but then what do you do?
Okay, well, we have, in Gladwin County, we have 2 homes that are reserved by Affordable Housing Alliance to be used by Shelterhouse. We hand select clients of ours that we already have to put into the homes. I go into the home minimum 1 day a week and spend at least an hour there just helping with whatever it is. So if they're having trouble paying rent that month, we focus on that.
And do what? You focus on that and do what?
We make
give
a
them money?
plan. No.
Oh, okay.
We make a plan. We see if there are resources, family members that may be able to help. I help them job hunt. I help them plan for the long term. If they're in need of food, I can sometimes bring food, depending on the situation, or help to guide them to resources where they're able to find food. And so really just day to day, how can we make it through and do the best that they can do for them, and help them to learn resources and learn how to utilize resources most effectively.
It's all about that trust again.
Yeah.
Advocacy is the heart and soul of what Shelterhouse does, and it's what makes the difference. It's what is different from traditional mental health counseling. It's going that extra mile and helping make sure that therapy cat is healthy, so that person can have all of the things they need to have a healthier life. And so it's that combination of things that make a difference, and going into the home and helping them figure out a plan, not just for safety, but for housing, for food, and for childcare.
Yeah.
So all of that is what you do.
We love the term advocacy because it gives us, it's sort of an umbrella term that we can, sky's the limit. It's what that person needs. I mean, we're dealing with victims of violence, and many of them, when Shannon talks about a therapy cat, well, that sounds nice and warm and fuzzy, but we're talking about a woman and a special needs son who have been through unbelievable life experiences, very traumatized, and they are in one of the income-based apartments in town.